What's up everybody, Patrick from wpbuilderhelper, and in today's video we're going to discuss the difference between Brizy Cloud and WordPress. Which one is the right choice for you? Are you more of a WordPress person or are you more of a Brizy Cloud person? Maybe you want to use both of them. We're going to discuss the pros and cons of each of them for those people who are thinking about jumping on the ship to moving away from WordPress and why you might want to do that and why Brizy Cloud might be that choice. But we're also going to discuss some of the drawbacks of Brizy Cloud and the things that you can only get with WordPress. So stay tuned and let's get started. Alright, so here we are on the Brizy Cloud webpage. So a lot of people have been questioning, hey, if I have Brizy Cloud, do I need WordPress or vice versa? So in order to take an answer to this, you can't just look at one product and not look at the others and what it can do and what it can't do. Brizy Cloud's very, very capable right now of handling any kind of basic website, and in the future that is only going to grow. The only issue that's standing behind this is the fact that, of course, unlike WordPress, which you can basically get for free, install a free theme, install a free page builder, such as Brizy, the free edition, use something like a Cadence or a Blocksy or anything like that, that's all free. This is going to cost you some money. It's got a price tag attached to it. And so that's the first thing that we separate the difference between this. Granted, I will tell you this. The team behind Brizy has been very smart about this, and they've actually made it to where the price is affordable. And there are some things that you just, the price on this is just great. For $99 a year, you have unlimited access to it in a way where it just makes sense. I mean, it's $99 a year. You don't have to buy any hosting for that. And it's got a global CDN. It's got an SSL. I think that their actual hosting is through Amazon. So you're saving money on hosting. That's the first thing. You're saving money on SSL, although granted, if you had a very basic website, you could probably get away with something like a Cloudflare SSL, which is also free. So as you can see, just from talking this out, there's a lot of free options that come with WordPress. But the thing that I like about Brizy Cloud is that they're not nickel and diming you. I mean, it's unlimited landing pages, it's unlimited websites, it's unlimited internal pop-ups. Everything's basically unlimited, so it gives you really unlimited options. Now, we've yet to see one or two things on this. We've yet to see a huge website that has a huge amount of traffic. I'm talking about a website that's got 200,000 page views, 300,000 page views. What does this do? Do you have throttling? Do you have limits? Because everybody is so used to in the hosting space that when you hit a certain limit, they throttle you down. That's usually what happens with regular hosting accounts. Any of the EIGA, which is like the Bluehost, the HostGator, those type of things, they'll offer unlimited, but in essence, they're not really giving you unlimited. So that's one of the things that you should kind of watch out for. Another thing that I just really like about the WordPress edition, which is the edition that we have here, is that the Brizy by itself is just it's a great builder by itself. I mean, I don't think that you would go wrong paying $2.99 for the builder currently. I think that it's a decent builder, and I think it's done a decent job of distinguishing itself from all the other builders. I definitely think there are things that they can improve with the builder, but that saying, I mean, with the page builder itself, you get unlimited everything. So if you paid $2.99 right now, you're good to go, and you can basically use it for as many sites as you want to. Of course, once again, the cloud has the ability to go back and do that same exact thing. So you can kind of go back with cloud and you can do unlimited pages and you don't even have to worry about hosting. But here's some things that you need to think about. So we talked about the fact that Brizy Cloud is a little bit less flexible right now. So one of the things that they're working on that they do not yet have, and I'm surprised it's not in the coming soon features right here that they list it, but it does not have blogging. and it does not have e-commerce. It's coming. They've talked about it, they've worked it out, and actually there's this whole thing that's going on right now. I haven't looked into it a lot, but I know that the developers behind Brizy have, and basically what it's coming down to is this headless CMS type deal where you wouldn't take and use any kind of PHP or anything like that to run your website. It kind of runs in the background, and it can be completely done with something like Brizy Cloud, where it's on a server somewhere and you don't have to. It's really interesting. It's a deep dive. It's one for a different discussion completely. But point being, blogging and some other things will be coming to Brizy Cloud. So if you're someone who's maybe thinking about Brizy Cloud and you're thinking about, hey, I want to take and get into it, what does it look like? That's interesting. It's surprising that it did that. So I had this record. I wonder why it added a new project. It didn't ask me to move a project. How funny. So there we go. So, if you're someone who's kind of playing with Brizy Cloud for maybe the first time, this is what it looks like. This is how it works. It's a little bit different than WordPress in terms of everything, but it works exactly like the page builder. The difference being that when you go to the dashboard, you're given this dashboard, which is a little bit different than you're used to. And these are your client files and your personal files or whatever. You can separate them and give them different accounts. And then you've got websites and pop-ups. So for instance, if you had set up a special pop-up or whatever, it would be included on there. But once you're inside of it, you get a lot of the same things that you would get with the Brizy builder. So I'll spare you those details. Leads are for forms that pretty much do not have the ability to they don't have the ability to take and do a whole bunch right now, because you can't basically attach them to anything. So the forms basically you have to use leads, and then you can publish, and there's a bunch of different options for publishing. So what I was talking about with the e-commerce and the blogging would most likely be a third-party type of hosting that they use. And it's going to be really interesting the way that they do it. But you've got some server abilities here, some subdomains. So if you wanted to use this self-hosted by you, Brizy Cloud gives you the ability to do that. And basically you can sync back and forth between it almost instantaneous. As a matter of fact, that's one of the points that I wanted to point out to you. So one of the things that we were talking about in the actual group under Brizy was the fact that one of the guys got malware on his site. His site got completely infected with malware, and he built everything on Brizy Cloud. Okay, so it was built on cloud, and then he ported it over to WordPress, which you can do by basically going into a design. And when you go into a design like this, you're going to see that usually, let me see if I can find it. Usually there's an ability, I think I got to go scroll to the bottom. I think you can save anywhere, but you go here and you can attach your layouts with the saved, and you can see right here I've kind of synced some layouts. So what he had done was he had all of his layouts already synced. So these are some different layouts I was using, and he had his layouts already synced, and so everything was ready to be ported. It'd be cool if they, speaking of layouts, these are all one-page layouts. I haven't seen multi-page layouts, so I don't know how that works. It would be really interesting to see if they had multi-page layouts where you could just totally import your whole entire library, like your whole entire website, but I guess they don't have that yet, because they have that kind of here, and it gives you the 5 layouts. That would be interesting to see. But regardless, his website got hacked. He got malware. He said, that's cool. I used Brizy Cloud, went into Brizy Cloud, server synced it or whatever, and recopied all of his stuff back from scratch, which was a really, really nice feature that you don't get with WordPress. Usually with WordPress, you have to buy some backup plugin or something along those lines in order to get something like that. You don't get that for free. So it's kind of nice that that was included in Brizy Cloud, and it wasn't something that they intentionally included. It's just something that happened to come along. My WordPress site got hacked, and all of a sudden I go on here, I click a button, and boom, it's back. And that's just a nice benefit of using both Cloud and WordPress at the same time. It's not something you necessarily need to do, but just saying that's something that you can do. So obviously you can have a custom domain, subdomain, those type of things. And then you've also got the ability to export your files and download them as HTML files, which are just static files, which are cool. I'm not sure how that's going to work with the blogging or the e-commerce, but I'm sure it'll work somehow. But you start a project much in the same way that you would do with Brizy, and it's much in the same thing. So for instance, that project, I used one of the layouts that were over there. I think I used this layout here. Let me see if it comes up. I think there's an app layout or something. They've got so many. I use this one. I use Swipe. I like Swipe, replace the global styling. And then we're going to take and we're going to add that. So this is what I was using on my demo site, essentially. So, you know, it's kind of cool that you can kind of go back and forth and you can edit this. It works the same way exactly as Brizy works. Just recently with the newest version of Brizy, they got them both up to speed with each other. So now they kind of link back and forth. Like one doesn't have something that the other one doesn't have, and so that's pretty cool. You know, obviously with WordPress, you're going to have to get some kind of hosting. Most people don't care about hosting, but I should point out that hosting packages are going up through the roof. I think we just saw that with SiteGround just recently. SiteGround kind of shot up through the roof. They used to be fairly affordable, and they quickly have blown up in price to the point where I've been noticing on a lot of web designer forums that when people are getting to, you know, year 2 or year 3 of having SiteGround, because maybe they only buy it for a year or two, the price will jump up almost 3 times what it was before. So if you were paying, say, $100 for a year, it all of a sudden shoots up to $300 per year. Something along those lines where people are being just sticker shocked and going, whoa, I'm not paying $300 for hosting. And that's just, it is what it is. It's what the market can bear, and it's something that SiteGround has to deal with and everybody else has to deal with. You get what you pay for, needless to say. You know, one of the things that we haven't talked about, but I think is important, is we haven't really seen what happens with Brizy when it gets hacked or how it gets hacked. Now, I will tell you this, one of the benefits of having a Brizy Cloud account is it isn't WordPress. So we don't know what a hack looks like compared to WordPress. You see, WordPress has some negative features about it, and that is the fact that WordPress has to rely on things like plugins and themes and everything like that. Well, those all have to update in the background. And so with Brizy Cloud, there are no plugins, there are no themes. Your theme and your plugin is all rolled into one. It's an app. It's a SaaS, you know, it's a nice little basically app that you can use to take and build your websites. The only limitations are the fact that you're going to be using Brizy, and that's the limitation by itself. But obviously, if you're happy with Brizy and you like those type of limitations and you don't care about blogging, which there are some people mentioned who have done some back-end blogging, some weird back-end blogging. I wouldn't recommend the way they've done it, but they've still done it and they've made it work, which I think is cool. But to me, there's some things that I think need to happen first before you would jump into this and use this for full-time clients and things like that. I think for landing pages, it's perfect. You're going to see more landing pages happen. We're going to have some collaboration come in. We're going to have some analytics and tracking. I think that's going to be important, even though you can already install Google Analytics, but I guess there will be more data and performance type analytics. And then you're going to have some funnels built into it. Speaking of analytics, tracking, and performance, one of the things that I think is super important to talk about with Brizy Cloud is you have to optimize your images. So it's a problem that I ran into that WordPress kind of doesn't have, because with WordPress you can go in with almost any, there's tons of free image optimizers that you can get out there. They usually only give you a limit of like 100 images or 200 images or 250 or something like that. But with Brizy Cloud, you have to go in and optimize your images first. Have to be. They have to be done before you ever touch them. So for something like this tiny PNG, or if you're using Photoshop, or if you're using Affinity, any of those things will help you optimize your images. But just be sure to take and optimize them, because if you don't, your website will blow up dramatically. I have run some website speed tests, and the speed tests are a little bit disturbing with If you stick something on there without thinking about optimizing the images, because I thought they would just auto-optimize in the background, I was completely wrong. They didn't. And the speed test was terrible for sites like this. I mean, stuff that Google would not even consider ranking for, because they were not done very well. I'm talking about scores in the 30s and 40s for a page speed test from Google. If you think that next year, by the time next year rolls around and Google starts ranking sites based upon speed, that's going to help you land your website anywhere close to the top search results, you're absolutely wrong. The top search results are going to be dominated by people who landing in the 90s, the 80s, those type of things. They're not going to be people in the 30s for mobile or for desktop. So you need to start thinking about that, because you have to follow the trends of Google. Unless you're just building a page for someone that's a client that maybe doesn't care. And if they don't care, then that's awesome. That's perfect. You can take and you can build this. And that's what I said. Right now, it's perfect for single sites. So restaurants, construction companies, those type of things, that they don't need to update their site all the time. They don't need to have a blog, or you can attach them to a WordPress blog, or you can attach them to a free blog, or maybe they don't even blog, because in most cases, most businesses don't blog. They throw a website up on the internet, and then 5 years later, they come back to update it with another designer. That's usually what happens, and that's usually what takes place, because they don't want to spend money on the internet. So you just got to take it with a grain full of salt. But I think that Brizy Cloud's got some good things with it. We've already talked about most of them. I think it's a solid choice for basic websites. I think WordPress is a better choice right now, flexibility-wise. But don't discount Brizy Cloud just yet. The features that they're talking about that are coming out in the future are going to be really, really, really awesome. And if you pair this with WordPress, it almost creates a separate type of thing that you have for a page builder. I know that some of the people who bought the lifetime license of Brizy, they say, oh, well, I got to pay another $99 a year for that. Well, what does that get me? Well, it gets you websites that are unlimited. It gives you somewhere that you can start somebody. So, for instance, if you had maybe a client who didn't have a big website or didn't want a whole lot on their website, and they fit into that Brizy Cloud scenario where it meets all the criteria, you could start using Brizy Cloud as your basic website designer. And it would work out great. It's got roles, it's got all of that, so you can do all the same things that you can do with WordPress. It just has less flexibility right now. In the future, I think it's going to have more flexibility, and I think that as they grow it, it's only going to get better. It really is. I think that once you start getting more conversions with, integrating with different apps and things like that and collecting different leads, I think that's going to be really cool too. There's just so much that you're going to be able to do with this, and it's really neat to see that they're allowing it, because for one hosted domain, so you can try this today, FYI, if you want to. You can start for free, and I can leave a link down in the bottom of the description or whatever, but it's just brizy.cloud, but I'll leave a link. And you could jump in on this, and you can see where it goes. To me, I really, really enjoy it. I think it's cool. And obviously it only gives you so many visits, but this is perfect for just getting into something that can help you build a website and get started. This is the essential. I wish that other design companies, and in terms of Elementor, Divi, and some of the others, would look at this and say, wow, I think they have something. Not because they're getting away from WordPress, but because they're supplementing it. This is almost like a supplementation to WordPress in some ways, because of all the extras that you get when you're syncing back and forth between it. And you can almost use it like as a development community, because technically speaking, you could use something else as development. Some people use Local by Flywheel. There's other different things that you can use as a development or a staging site. This one, if you're using Brizy, it's one of the best that I've found. I think that it's better than a lot of things out there. And like I said, I wish other people would look into this. I'm sure it would be very expensive to develop, but it's something that I wouldn't mind seeing copied across a lot of the builders. But for right now, Brizy's the only one that has it, so they're the king of the hill. And I definitely think it's worth it, even for the free plan. It's something that you can jump into. You can build a basic site. You don't need anything crazy. Yes, you're not going to get the pro designs. Yes, you're not going to get the pro features, but it's something that you can test and experiment with. And if you want to move up to the $49 or even the $99 per year, I think that that's awesome. And I think that this by itself, with the unlimited, it makes it worth it. It makes it worth it for me, to me. I mean, everybody else is different, but to me, I think it makes it worth it. So I hope that this has kind of really dived into the explaining why you may pick one over the other. And I hope it's kind of giving you something to look at if you're somebody who's a WordPress person and maybe you're thinking about getting into Brizy Cloud, or maybe you thought Brizy Cloud was a good idea back when it first came out, but you wondered how far it had advanced. Hopefully I've answered all your questions. If you have any more questions, go ahead and ask them down below, and I'll take and I'll try and answer them as best as I can. I don't know all the answers to everything, but I have been part of a lot of their webinars and things like that, so I kind of know where they're going with this, and I'm really excited with it. I think it's going to be a good project later on in the future. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and if you have, give that thumbs up and like button, and I will see you guys next time.